What's up, YouTube? This is Corey from the OverLook, and we go over the books you may have overlooked. I'm not sure if any of you have gotten the chance, but the TV show Superman and Lois is about 5 episodes in on the CW. In the TV show, Clark and Lois have 2 children. The theory is that one kid is going to be good, and the other is going to turn into a bad guy. So, I think this is the perfect time to tell you guys about the time when Jonathan Kent, Superboy, broke bad. Oh, and there's going to be plenty of Batman. I hope you all enjoy. Hamilton County, USA. A small, peaceful farming town located in the Midwest. Properties are spread out, neighbors are friendly, and kids get to be kids. It's a perfect place to raise a family, or hide one in secret. Jonathan Kent, named after his grandfather, has spent his whole childhood idolizing after his father. Someday, he will be expected to pick up the Superman mantle, but he might have to learn how to fly first. Every so often, the young boy climbs to the top of the tallest tree he can find and leaps upward towards the sun, only to immediately crash to the ground. Life is simple. Everything Clark wanted for his child. Honestly, if he's allowed to be selfish, it's everything he wanted for himself. Clark finishes up his daily chores around the farm and just sits back and admires everything he has. A beautiful wife, a great son, a loyal pet. He feels more human now than he ever has before. He just wishes his parents were around to see this. Dark clouds begin to cover the horizon as the night approaches. The last thing Lois Lane Kent does is check the mail. She flips through the letters and envelopes as she examines them. Lois Lane Kent. Mr. and Mrs. Kent. Lois Kent. It seems as if no one knows how to properly address her. That is when their neighbor, Mr. Cobb, drives by in his dairy truck. "Evening, Mrs. Kent. Radio says there's a storm on the way. That and my arthritis. I'd appreciate it if you sent my granddaughter home. Not to tell you your business, but I think it's best to get that boy of yours indoors where it's safe too." "Sure," she says. "Thanks for the heads up, Mr. Cobbs." "No problem. That's what neighbors are for." Later that night, the rain begins to pour. The sound of thunder and the screams of lightning accompany it. The family Kent heads downstairs to their basement to wait out the storm, as it is customary for normal people in this part of the country. To pass the time, Clark and John play pool. Lois types away on her phone. Even though they are in Hamilton, she still has stories for the Daily Planet that she must send in. John can't help but wonder, how come they have to stay in the basement when it storms like this? "I mean, we've survived worse, you know?" "We have," Clark says. They have been going through a lot of changes lately. Some of them good, some of them bad. But no matter how big or small, Clark swears they will take care of it as a family. More time passes, and John's bedtime quickly approaches. Lois walks him up to his room and instructs him to start winding down for the night. However, something keeps him awake. John takes out his flashlight and stares out into the night sky. He then digs out his Superboy jacket from under his bed and examines his family crest. Something is off. Lois checks on her son and tells him to turn off the light and go to sleep. He half listens. Jonathan turns off his flashlight and prepares to lay down, but that's when he notices something in the distance. Dozens of bats fluttering around their barnyard. He then sees the light from his kitchen as the back door of the house, directly below his room, swings open. His father's shadow grows larger as he exits the doorway. "Not again," Jonathan sighs, looking back down to his jacket. Then, with a smirk, he repeats, "Not again." He is not going to be left out this time, he thinks, as he puts on his jacket and zips it up to the collar before running out the room. Superman, on the other hand, exits the house and makes his way over to the open barn. The screeching of the bats and the flapping of the wings are blending into the sounds of the storm, creating quite an uncomfortable concert behind him. He clears his throat before saying, "You two can come out now," almost patronizing the other's attempt to remain hidden. Lightning strikes in the background. It illuminates the barn just long enough for Batman and Robin to be revealed. Both of them carry quite the scowl. "I'm here to talk, Clark," Batman grunts. "And I'm here to listen, Bruce. What's this all about?" Superboy tiptoes through the barn door and hides behind one of the bales of hay in order to listen in. His father has already noticed him, and apparently, so is his mother. Lois walks up right behind the child before turning on the flashlight. "Superboy!" She grabs him by his ear. "Ow, ow, 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 Mom!" He groans as he is pulled to his feet. She then directs the light towards Batman and Robin. The two shield themselves from the light as if it were a deadly weapon. Lois could have sworn she heard Batman hiss. "Boys," she says flatly, "it's freezing out in this drafty old barn. And in case you haven't noticed, this is Hamilton, not Gotham. We can talk indoors, like normal people." It's almost 11 p.m., but if there is work to be done, why not make a pot of coffee? And you can never go wrong with apple pie. Lois fills up Batman's mug, but the scowl never leaves his face. Superman can't help but smirk at his seriousness. Superboy, however, can't help but be a little concerned. Between bites of his dessert, he asks Robin, "Doesn't your dad like apples?" "Batman doesn't eat pie," Robin spits. "What are you guys doing here anyway? Do you think your dad found out about us in a mazo?" Robin responds by stuffing what's left of his pie into Jonathan's mouth. "Delicious pie, Mrs. Kent." Lois, who is now at the kitchen sink, warns the boys, "I may not have super hearing, but don't forget, I have eyes in the back of my head." The two boys gasp and freeze in place. "If you boys are finished, maybe we should leave your fathers to themselves." She begins to scoot the boys out of the kitchen, but Batman interjects. "Stay, this involves you." He points his attention towards Superboy. This obviously concerns Clark. "What is it, Bruce? What's going on?" "The tests that we ran on John came back inconclusive." "Yes, we know that. High protein and enzyme levels due to his growing powers." The two watch as John downs a glass of milk. "Has he developed any new abilities since then?" "No," Clark tells him, before confirming with his son. "You tell me, right, kiddo?" "Yes, sir!" John cheers with a salute. Bruce isn't convinced. He holds up an X-ray to John and examines him. "There's nothing wrong with him, biologically, in fact. it is quite the opposite. He's very healthy. Almost too healthy. According to his genetic sequencing, his molecular structure and power centers should have completed their transition by now. Yet, as you say, there's been no change. The two parents get defensive. Lois tells Bruce to get to the point. At his core, I believe John, as a human Kryptonian hybrid, should be more powerful than you are on your best day, Clark. His powers should be off the charts by now. So you're saying something's holding him back? Bruce begins to rifle through the pantry. The answer may be environmental. Now, Clark raises his voice. Are you serious? Don't you think I've scanned this town, every inch of this house, the land? If I'm right, John is even more of a potential threat, especially if these facts have eluded you this long, Clark. He's my son. We can figure out whatever comes as a family. This could have unforeseen ramifications. Why does that have to be negative? You specialize in worst case scenarios. But whatever you say, however you spin it, I won't believe the world is more black than white. It's easy to be optimistic while tucked away out here, Superman. But out in the world, the darkness is real and growing. Clark smiles and sticks his chest out. Then we need to shine brighter. Bruce turns around and opens the refrigerator. What do you feed him? Lois puts her hands on her hips in disapproval. Normal food? This is crazy. I don't know why you think you'll find something sinister. There isn't even fast food around here. Mostly organic grocery store items. Dairy, protein, produce. John's friend Kathy even delivers fresh milk from her grandfather's dairy farm. And their prize-winning cow, Bessie. Batman turns around and looks at the now empty glass of milk sitting in John's hand. Tell me about the farmer. Later, at the Cobb's family dairy farm, Bruce searches the area for clues. First, he examines the truck. When that doesn't provide him with a lead, he scans the farmhouse with his X-ray. He sees Mr. Cobbs tucking his granddaughter Kathy in for the night before heading downstairs to wind down by watching some television. All seems normal. But Batman's instincts tell him otherwise. He heads over to the barn where the cow is housed for the night. Hello, Bessie, he says as he holds up John's empty milk bottle. He then removes a small vial filled with chemicals and pours it into the glass. Next, he lowers himself to the small stool next to the cow and grabs onto her udders. It doesn't take long for the milk to be produced. I just need to test a fresh sample, then I'll be on my way. Batman is at a loss of words as he watches the milk fill the glass. At first, it is its normal creamy off-white color that one would expect. But then, after the glass is about 3/4 full, the milk, leaving the udder, turns black. Batman studies the strange black liquid as it spirals within the glass. The milk begins to bubble. Small black tendrils are made on the surface of the liquid and they jet out randomly as if it were looking for something. Then, out of nowhere, the glass shatters in Batman's hand. The blackened liquid screeches as it jets out into the air. Batman reels back out of shock, but the dark slimy tendrils have already started to wrap around his hand. The screeches continue as it grows in size and aims its tendrils at Batman's face. blinding and choking him, causing him to fall to the ground. Batman struggles to free himself. The viscous sludge keeps spreading, binding his arms and legs together to restrict his movement. The last thing Batman hears before he is completely consumed by the darkness are the footsteps of Mr. Cobbs. "What's all this?" he asks as he walks into the barn. "Did we catch another troublemaker?" "Don't worry yourself, Bessie. We'll put him with the others. He won't hurt you anymore. I promise." The next morning, Jonathan Kent wakes up with a smile on his face. Another night, another pleasant dream. "Up, up, and away," he mumbles. He sits up in his bed and with a yawn, leans over to wake up his best friend, Damian Wayne. "Morning, Damian. Rise and shine." The boy wonder groans, folding his pillow around his ears to try to block out both John and the sun. "I know you and Mr. Wayne are night owls, but around here, the early bird gets the worm, Robin." "Clever. You think of that all by yourself?" The boys race downstairs, only to find Batman hasn't returned. As Damian puts it, his father isn't exactly one to leave a note, but he's usually back by dawn. This concerns Clark. He tells the boys to put on their suits, but then there's a knock at the door. John runs over to the front of the house and gasps, "The neighbors! Quick, Damian, you need a code name." "Absolutely not," Damian stomps. "You're Garth." "What? No!" But John is already swinging open the door. He greets his friend Kathy and her grandfather, Mr. Cobbs. They are just there with their customary delivery of milk. Mr. Cobbs hands over the crate of milk to Lois, saying, "If Garth is a good boy, next time I'll bring him some of Bessie's milk too." Damian folds his arms in disapproval. "I have my own cow." The two Cobbs prepare to leave. Before they do, Kathy tells John to meet her by the big tree later when he's free to play. He can even bring Garth. Clark takes this time to speak with Mr. Cobbs in private. He asks Mr. Cobbs if he has seen anything unusual recently, hoping for some indication to Batman's location. But Mr. Cobbs answers no, not since Superman fought Frankenstein in his pasture. "Anyways," he says to the children, "keep your eyes open, John. A lot of bad guys out there, you know? And good to have your dog around to keep an eye on things. We can't count on Superman to keep our little ones safe all the time. Right, Mr. Kent?" Clark raises an eyebrow, but doesn't press the subject. The Kents and Damian return inside, and Mr. Cobbs walks back to the car. On his way, he sees Crypto and gives him a gentle pat. The dog's eyes glow bright as it's put into a trance. "Good boy," Mr. Cobbs tells him. "We always keep an eye on John, don't we?" Elsewhere, in a dark lab, deep within the sea, a man slowly takes a drag of a cigarette as he watches all of the events of the previous night unfold. "So, errands with your dad, Is it a bat hunt, Prince John? Can't say I fancy that. Troublemakers, meddlers." He exhales a cloud of smoke through gritted teeth and then looks out to the open ocean. What greets him is some sort of nebulous creature of the deep. Its many tentacles dance around in the water as it approaches the lab. It clings onto the glass and opens its single eye in the center of its mouth. It fixates its vision on the man clouded by smog. "We're gonna need a distraction," he tells the beast. In the sky, Superman soars above Hamilton County with Superboy and Robin in tow. He uses his super abilities to find some sort of clue as to where Batman may have disappeared to. "Hold steady, Superman," Damian says as he grips onto the crimson cape to keep his balance. "I'll do my best." "Locator isn't picking up Batman anywhere in the vicinity. No responses to comms, no visual either. This isn't normal, even for him." "John, focus your ears and scan heartbeats like we practiced." John tries to listen to his father, but he can't hear anything out of the ordinary. Just normal townspeople preparing for the upcoming fair. Doc Brooks, Mr. Martinez, Mrs. Candace, Officer Haggard, the usual people that John is acquainted with. Suddenly, the giant squid attacks. It bursts out the river and climbs onto the pier. Its massive tentacles start grabbing onto trucks, buildings, and tents. It crushes everything within its grasp. "Did you see that?" Superboy points. "Looks like the same squid we turned loose in the Arctic," says Superman as he raises an eyebrow. "It's coming ashore. I'll contain it to the parking lot and push it back." Superman drops Robin and Superboy off on the Ferris wheel. Robin is irritated. "You're going without us. What are we supposed to do?" "Hold steady, Robin. This is a job for Superman." Superman launches forward and tackles the creature in an attempt to push it back out to the water. "So, this is pest control in the sticks," Robin mumbles. "Not really," Superboy answers. "I seem to recall hearing about a psychedelic moose, woodland creatures with glowing eyes, a cow barfing milk. That was Dead Man's Swamp. Me and Kathy snuck out there to investigate." At that moment, a tentacle comes crashing down. It just barely misses the two children. Luckily, Robin is able to shoot off a grappling hook in time to swing away. The creature continues to flail about as it tries to grab onto anything to stop it from being pushed back into the water. Superman looks the creature in its eye and tells it, "We already threw you back once, and I don't want to hurt you. But if you don't let go, you leave me no choice." Superman punches the creature in the eye, and it answers by dousing him with ink. The ink covers Superman and sends him flying to the ground. Then, it starts to bubble. Superman looks around as humanoid creatures begin to sprout up through the blackened tar. One of them holds a cigarette. "Who?" Superman asks as the viscous beings try to overtake him. Both Superboy and Robin leap into action. "Hands off the Super Dad!" Robin lands a flying kick on one of the creatures. Portions of its body splashes onto the ground, and from it, even more creatures grow. "I told you boys to stay. I can handle this," Superman says as he begins to fight off the opponents. "You claim the cephalopod," Robin answers. "We can handle the ink men," Superboy agrees as he uses his ice breath to freeze the enemies in place before Robin shatters them with his batarangs. The squid attacks again. Its giant tentacle slams down. Superman is able to speed the children off to a safe distance, but the ink men are splattered under the weight. Superman then leaves the children to escort all the civilians to safety. But It seems like the civilians have their own priorities. Mrs. Candace is busy recording everything with her phone. With any luck, her story will make the front page of the Hamilton Horn. And Superboy will be the headline. Officer Haggard unloads his pistol and asks Superboy for assistance. In fact, he deputizes Superboy to use lethal force on the creature, even if it's against his father's better wishes. This has gone on for long enough. Superman lifts up the Ferris wheel and throws it on top of the creature, pinning it down in the water. That ought to hold you until I can contact Aquaman. The crowd watching begins to cheer. Superman warns them, "Please, stay back, folks. Give the authorities room to do their work." This doesn't garner much support from the onlookers. They can all see that the creature is still moving. It's still alive. Shouldn't someone put it down? "We're not exterminators," Superman says. "And I don't think it's a threat to anyone at the moment. So if you'll please..." "Look out!" Superboy shouts as one of the creature's tentacles whips out of the water and slaps back the people in the crowd. Superboy's eyes light up in anger. "No! Leave them alone!" he bellows as he tears apart the creature with his heat vision. The creature hisses and screeches in pain as its skin catches on fire and begins to melt off its very bones. "Son, stop!" Superman pleads. John comes to his senses and runs down to help the civilians. Superman also offers his help, but all of the people in the crowd, it seems, are now apprehensive. They thank Superman for his help, but they can take it from here. Thankful, at least, that Superboy decided to step up and do what he should have. Later, the three heroes stand on a hill overlooking the town. "Do you think they're right, Dad?" They're scared. What if Batman was right? The world isn't like Hamilton anymore. Maybe it's time to think about handling things different. "Listen, son. One day, you're going to have to choose what to do with your own fear. Whatever you choose, right or wrong, it's going to change people's lives. It's going to change the world. And it's going to change you." Damian rolls his eyes. "Riveting. Now, if you don't mind, my father, I suggest we go to that swamp you and Blondie snuck out to before." Clark turns to his son with a disapproving glare. "Dead Man's Swamp?" "We weren't there for long. There's this abandoned house and swamp gas. Mr. Cobbs found us and we were just..." Superman cuts him off. "Cobbs never mentioned it. And I don't like that disobeying my clear instructions is becoming a pattern, young man. Maybe Batman was right to take a look at him. Head home and wait for me with your mother, and I'll find Batman alone." Clark flies off and leaves the two boys by themselves. On their way home, they stop by the tree both John and Kathy frequent. "Didn't think that was possible." "What?" "Opie gets grounded." "I can't fly. I'm always grounded, Damian." "Then let's drive and look for Batman ourselves. I de-encrypted the Batmobile code key. It's cloaked nearby." "Stop it." "Stop what?" "Getting me into trouble." "Okay. Now that we've established I'm a bad influence, let's go." "I said no!" Again, John's eyes glow red with anger. He extends his arm and pushes Damien to the ground. Damien jumps back up and tackles John, and the two begin to fight. Then, Kathy arrives. With her hands in her pockets, she calmly instructs John. "Get off, Garth." "What? You talking to me, Blondie?" Damien spits as he continues to punch John. "I was warning you," Kathy responds. Suddenly, Damien begins to bleed from his nose and his eyes. Blood drips out the corners of his mouth. Damien struggles to breathe, and the next thing he knows, he's being psychically lifted into the air. She then ceases her assault and drops the boy wonder. Damien falls onto John, and, in reaction, John's heat vision goes off, shooting directly at Kathy. She negates the twin beams, simply diverting the energy around her until they collide with the tree behind her. In an instant, the bark begins to burn, and the tree is ignited in flames. Kathy smiles. "Oh, John, you're so scared. It's going to be okay. But please, you have to calm down." She forces the energy back into his eyes. "Or he won't let you use these powers either." John's anxiety skyrockets. Between gasps of air, he asks, What happened? My heat vision just shut off?" Kathy chuckles. "How can we protect you when you can't protect yourself? Don't worry. He'll keep us safe until you're ready. You're special, John. More than you know. No one will hurt you. Ever. I promise." That evening, back at the farm, Lois Lane paces around as she waits for any kind of news from the boys. It doesn't feel right. Just sitting there. She should be out with them, looking for Batman. Her phone buzzes a number of times. Each buzz is accompanied with a photo of the fight at the fair. Superman, Superboy, and Robin, each doing what they can to stop the strange monster that attacked. She sees the destruction it leaves in its wake. The injured civilians. Lois walks over to the kitchen sink and looks up from her phone to see an orange light flickering in the distance. She immediately knows that it's in the direction of the large oak tree that John likes to hang out at. She squints her eyes and grabs her keys to the family truck. She gets in the vehicle and drives up the hill towards the tree. Once she arrives, she gets out the car without turning off the engine. She just watches as the bark burns, as the leaves dance in the air, most of them burning into ash before they can even reach the grass below. It hasn't stopped, she thinks. It's been one thing after the other. Every time they expect things to just get a little bit back to normal, they're rudely reminded there's no such thing. Because everywhere they turn, someone always seems to want the world to burn. Then, Lois notices the makeshift grave John made for their previous pet, Goldie. 2 dried sticks put together to form a cross, hastily fastened together by a small bit of string and Goldie's collar. Small flames ignite on the edges. Lois walks over, blows out the flames, and immediately calls for her husband and son. "John? Clark!" She waits a moment. Usually, Clark would have answered by now. That's when she sees Mr. Cobbs's farm in the distance. Something isn't adding up. She jumps back into the truck and drives over. It screeches to a halt as she parks, alerting the Cobbses. Kathy and her grandfather open the front door and they step onto the porch. "Evening, Mr. Cobbs." "Hi, Kathy." "Everything okay there, Mrs. Kent?" "The big oak's on fire. Did you see anyone set it?" "I haven't seen or heard anything. I was about to head over myself and investigate. Called the fire department too. Where are your boys? I hope they weren't caught up in all that commotion in town." Lois forces a smile. "No worries, they're fine," she tells the two before jumping back into her truck. She then drives into town to do some investigating herself. First, she does a rundown on what she knows. Batman and Robin come to the house, worried about John. Batman goes out by himself to dig around. Poof! Bats disappeared. The giant squid attacks town. Clark, John, and Damien take it down. Then, not a word from them. Poof! Just like Batman, they're gone. And Candace? Lois gasps as she sees Mrs. Candace walking by. But that isn't right. From the pictures Lois was looking at earlier, Mrs. Candace was injured. Pretty badly, in fact. How is she already up and about after that? Lois parks the truck on the side of the road and tries to keep a safe distance behind as she follows Mrs. Candace. By the looks of it, she's heading for the town hall. But why is she taking the back door? Lois follows the woman all the way to the lower floors of the building, only to find that the stairs lead a couple stories underground. Lois comes to the conclusion that the historic town hall must have been erected during the Cold War. This stairwell must be leading her to a bomb shelter of some sort. At the base of the stairs sits a single door. Lois gently slides it open and is greeted by the illumination of countless computer monitors. Each of the monitors showcase her and her family at different points in time over the last few months. Her sons, her husbands, even Damien's lives are all on full display. "What the?" Lois gasps as she approaches the computer. She places her hand on the glass, muttering, "Our whole life laid bare. Clark and John? Their secret identities." Suddenly, a voice behind her finishes her statement. "Aren't very secret anymore, Lois." Lois takes a closer look at the computer monitor and sees Mrs. Candace pointing a gun at the back of her head. In one motion, Lois turns on her heel and kicks the weapon away before Candace can react. Then, she follows up with a blast of pepper spray to the face. Candace falls to her knees and begins to sob from the pain. She orders Lois to come back, but Lois is already sprinting away. She runs full speed out of the room, up the stairs, out of the town hall, and back to her car. She smashes the keys into the ignition and forces down the pedal as far as she can. The engine roars into the distance as she drives away. "Clark! Jonathan!" she calls out in desperation. Again, there is no answer. In a situation like this, there is only one thing to do. She has to use it now. The Justice League Emergency Communicator. Lois arrives back at the farm and swings open the front door. Shockingly, there is already a full house. A number of the townspeople are sitting in her front room. Apparently, they have been waiting on her arrival. Doc Brooks, Officer Haggard, Mr. Martinez, Mayor Goodman, even Mrs. Candace is somehow in attendance. Each of them with a sinister smirk on their faces. "Hello, Mrs. Kent," Mayor Goodman says slyly as he holds up a small device in the palm of his hand, shaking it from left to right. "I imagine you're looking for this." Lois doesn't stop for a second. She races up the staircase before any of the townspeople have a chance to approach her. The mayor raises a single eyebrow. Quite fast, isn't she? Lois continues up the staircase and down the hallway to her and Clark's room. She slams the door behind her before kneeling down to the bed and reaching for her safe. She jams the buttons on the keypad, and Mr. Martinez jumps through the floorboards. He sees the small safe open and asks, why does the wife of Superman need a gun? Lois pulls out an all-black glove and equips it. "This isn't a gun, Mr. Martinez. It's a souvenir." The glove quickly begins to charge, and Lois unleashes a blast of energy directly into Mr. Martinez's chest. The hot plasma energy burns him at the touch and sends him falling back down to the ground. Apparently, they underestimated the woman, he tells the others. The rest of the townspeople attempt to jump through the hole in the ceiling to catch Lois before she can get away, but she doesn't stop. She clenches her fist and punches a hole through the second-story window before climbing out and jumping off the roof. Lois lands on the ground and runs in the opposite direction of the house. The townspeople try to chase after her, but she is able to keep them at bay with more blasts from the gauntlet. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the Batmobile arrives. The thick tread on its tires tear up her front yard, but that's of little concern at the moment. Lois, at first, believes that it is Batman coming to save her from whatever this is. To her surprise, the doors open and no one is in the passenger seat. "Okay," she says as she hops into the car. "I guess we're leaving." The door closes behind her and she's bathed in a red light. She looks to her left and right, searching for a way to start the vehicle. "If I can drive Frankenstein's scooter, I should be." Voice identified. "No ignition match," says the back computer, interrupting her. "What the? How do you start this?" Lois asks as she grabs onto the wheel. "Gauntlet glove, ignition match. Driving privileges allowed." Lois cheers as the engine turns back on and the thrusters ignite. At first, Lois believes she has left all the townspeople behind. But it's never that easy. The back computer informs her that there are several bodies converging, requesting permission to initiate shield and weapon systems. Lois grits her teeth and grips onto the wheel. "Fire them up." Outside the Batmobile, the townspeople have already caught up. The Batmobile releases a number of rockets that make contact with the majority of them. A few of them are able to dodge the explosives and land on the car before they attempt to break down the windshield. Their assault is cut short when the Batmobile discharges an electric shock to force them off of the vehicle and onto the ground. Lois passes by the Cobbs family farm within a couple of seconds. Her attention is still on getting the help she needs. Request an immediate communication link to the Justice League, she orders the computer. The computer begins to process the request, but out of nowhere, the steering wheel begins to shake. What's happening? She asks as the door to the vehicle is ripped off its hinges. Piece by piece, the Batmobile is being disassembled. Small chunks of metal are thrown into different directions until there is only Lois left. Then, she hears the footsteps as Mr. Cobbs approaches. "Hello, Lois," he says grimly. Elsewhere, in Dead Man's Swamp, Superman makes his way into the dilapidated building. It's been hours, he thinks. Miles of corridors right under Hamilton County. There is no sign of Batman. No sign of life. Just a low humming all around. Perhaps it's an aural dampener. Perhaps it's something else. But he cannot turn back now. Superman finds a trap door hidden within the floorboards and removes it. He jumps down the hole and falls for quite a while before he hits the bottom floor. Purple lights illuminate the area, and he comes across a door that is seemingly not of this world. Behind the door, he finds Batman, Damian, and a number of others trapped in stasis pods. Each of the pods are hooked up to some kind of alien machine, discharging a viscous black liquid. What is happening? He thinks. Under the earth, Superman examines the stasis pods more closely. The wires leading to the tubes all seem to be organic, and Superman can't take a chance on smashing the tubes until he has a better handle on this. In Hamilton County, Lois just sits there, speechless, amongst the broken pieces of the Batmobile, and stares back at their neighbor. How could Mr. Cobbs do this to them? Mr. Cobbs replies that she doesn't understand simply because she can't see the bigger picture. Yet. Everything will be answered in due time. We have no intention of hurting you. This has actually been all about preparing you. Prepare us for what, Cobbs? For a new life. For a new world. Lois squints back at Mr. Cobbs. Clearly, she is no match. But that has never stopped her before. Lois lifts the bat gauntlet and points it at the old man before firing off a plasma bolt of energy. I like this one just fine the way it is, she says as the energy collides with Mr. Cobbs, forcing him backwards and almost off his feet. Ultimately, the blast does little more than knock off Mr. Cobbs' glasses. They never even touch the ground. Mr. Cobbs psychically holds the small frames in the air, giving him time to regain his composure before he readdresses Lois. I had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but your husband left us no choice. Mr. Cobbs holds his own palm towards Lois, forcing her to lift up the gauntlet, and he closes it into a fist, causing the metal glove to crumble into a ball around Lois's hand. The sounds of breaking bones, cracking metal, and frying wires are doled out by Lois's own screams in pain. Superman stops what he's doing. He knows that sound. It's Lois. He jumps up out of the underground lair and uses his heat vision to burrow his way to the surface of the earth. With an explosion of debris, Lois is thrown back as Superman launches out of the ground and punches Mr. Cobbs. Superman then catches Lois out of the air. "Are you alright?" he asks, as they slowly float to the ground. Lois shows Superman her hand, and this only heightens his anger. "And Jonathan?" she asks. Scanned everywhere, can't zero in on him. "What kind of parents are we if we can't protect our own?" "Down!" Superman warns her. Superman turns his back and covers Lois to shield her as a rock is thrown in their direction. It shatters into dust on contact. Once the dust settles, there stands Mr. Cobbs. "Hello, Superman. Or should I say, Clark?" "I don't care what you call me," Clark barks back. "You've been lying to us from the start." Mr. Cobbs crosses his arms and levitates more pieces of the earth. They spiral around his body, forming a barrier of sorts. Clark stomps forward and uses his heat vision to carve out a path. "I never trusted you, Cobbs. Always had a gut feeling you were putting on a show. I blame myself for letting you and Kathy get so close to us." Mr. Cobbs then uproots a tree and uses it to attack, but it is easily shattered into small splinters of wood by a swift backhand from Clark. "Enough of your telekinetic games! Is Kathy even a real girl?" "Rest assured, we're all real, Superman." Elsewhere, John wakes up, strapped down to a chair, facing a giant computer monitor, showcasing all of the night's events. He looks around, confused. "Kathy? Robin? Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Then, a displaced voice echoes throughout the room. "It's what you see here today that is of the utmost importance, my lad. The failure of Superman," says the man as he presses on a large button labeled "Release." "Show yourself," John orders as he fires off his heat vision. The beams of energy bounce off the wall and around the room until they collide back with him. Somehow, his father cannot hear his cries in pain. "Room's covered in black mirrors," the man tells him. "Just sit back, be safe, and watch your parents on the telly." On ground, Superman grabs Mr. Cobbs by his overalls and flies him into the air, warning him, "If you've hurt John in any way..." Mr. Cobbs punches Superman to shut him up. "The last thing I'd ever do is hurt your son." Admittedly, this catches Superman off guard. "Where is John?" he scowls as he raises even higher into the sky. "I've been protecting him, nurturing him with Kathy. I love him as if he were my own. Everything that we do for..." Suddenly, Mr. Cobbs is interrupted by a crash in the distance. The two look over and see what looks to be a giant, monstrous crustacean erupting out of the earth. With no other choice, Superman flies back down to the ground. He picks up the broken pieces and pipes from the Batmobile and wraps them around Mr. Cobb's. "Lives are at stake. No time to mess with you," he says as he tightens the final restraint. "Last chance. Where's my son?" "Safe," Mr. Cobb says flatly. "You betrayed my family. This isn't over. And this can't hold me for long." Superman smacks Mr. Cobbs across the head and knocks him out. "That's why I suggest you take a nap," he says before grabbing Lois and flying away. They arrive just outside the town and find the creature attacking a construction site. The two wonder, when did Hamilton become ground zero for Monster Central? Clark places Lois down a safe distance away before swooping in and evacuating civilians from the area. Meanwhile, the monster is attacking nearby support beams to a building in progress and causes hundreds of tons of metal to come crashing to the ground. Out of nowhere, an alien with red skin and glowing eyes flies in, and within seconds, it rips the creature in half. "No!" Superman cries. "What are you doing?" He grabs the alien by the shoulder and forces them to turn around. "Who are you? You slaughtered that creature." "And why is that a problem, Superman?" The alien smirks. "I protected my constituents." "Mayor?" Superman gasps. But before he can ask another question, another creature arrives. This one, a monstrous bat the size of a schoolhouse. The creature soars over Hamilton County until it finds some would-be prey. Superman rockets by and removes the civilians from harm. But while he is busy, two more aliens arrive. One, bulky and armored. The other, sleek, with the ability to make blades out of energy. The bulkier alien holds the bat's head to the air as the smaller one uses its blades to decapitate the beast. It doesn't take long for Superman to realize that the larger alien is Officer Haggard and the smaller is Dr. Brooks. "You didn't need to do that," he spits. The two aliens explain that it hadn't been easy holding back their true potential, but they have for Superboy's sake. Another creature erupts from the earth and charges at the heroes. Its massive claws crush the cars as it carves out a course. The two aliens tell Superman that this is his chance to step up and protect the people by killing these monsters. Superman refuses. There's always another way, he tells them. But he is wrong. The man showed them how to use their true strength against evil, just like he'll show Superboy. And if someone is going to die, the super elite prefer it's the monsters, not them. Even Mr. Martinez flies in and lands a decisive blow on the creature. Superman asks him why exactly they graciously appointed themselves as authority figures around his son. Their answer is that they will teach John. Someday, they will need John to succeed where Clark fails. Superman tells them that he wants real answers, and the creature isn't going anywhere until he gets them. While he is distracted, the monster gets its second wind. It roars as it throws off the debris. Lois is caught in the crossfire. A street sign zooms by her horizontally, and before she can react, it slices her right leg just above the knee. Both Superman and and Superboy's mouths hang open in disbelief. Before she can fall to the floor, Superman has already caught her. My leg. I'm sorry, I didn't see. Hold on, Superman tells her with an unmoving frown on his face. I have to stop the blood loss. Lois nods her head and grits her teeth. Take care of this, Clark, and let nothing get in your way of finding John. Understand me? I understand. Now hold my hand tight and scream as loud as you want. Lois does so, and Superman begins to cauterize the wound with his heat vision. I'm sorry, Lois. This is all my fault. Elsewhere, Superboy tries to force himself free of his bindings. Mom! He screams out in tears before turning his head to look away. The man comes up behind John and forces his head back towards the screen. I'm afraid I can't have you turn away. It's necessary you witness this. Action equals reaction. The time to swallow anger is over. Why be sorry after the fact? And let the past become our fate. Oh, sorry you had to watch that, John boy. But desperate times calls for desperate measures. Anything less, and innocent people are bound to suffer. Your dad and I butted heads over it in the past, but he never would see it my way. Had to give up on the big blue Boy Scout. But you can be different. You've got what it takes. Black is black, white is white. There's the innocent and the guilty. And Manchester Black says it's time we have a new Superman in town. Back then, Kathy had no choice but to watch. She watched as her mother, her father, everyone was slaughtered. One by one, the Krug attacked and killed them all. Manchester Black tried to warn them that the Krug were lying. Now, Black approaches the young girl and places a hand on her shoulder to comfort her. Ouch! Sorry you had to watch that, love. Wish I could have saved them too. It breaks me ever-loving heart to see doves cry. Peaceful solutions always sound nice, but real truth and justice, they're one fang to claw. No room for hesitation. Black is black, white is white. Please, can you help us? Kathy begs. Tears are rolling down her cheeks. All you had to do was ask, love. The crew commander makes a video call to whoever is still alive, stating that his boarding party and ship have been decimated. It is these people and Manchester Black that violate the very rules of peace that they have preached for over a millennia. Manchester Black strikes a match to light his cigarette. He looks around to the scared and dying aliens. Mr. Cobbs, Kathy, Martinez, the mayor, the sheriff, Candace, all of them in their natural alien forms. All of them silently pleading for direction. Switch that crock cow off, he tells them. War tribunals Rubbish. Real justice is simple. Mr. Cobbs asks Manchester to do whatever he can to help. They have nothing left now. Their planet is scorched in war. Kathy is all he has left. He will do anything Manchester says to not live in fear anymore. At the moment, their engines are failing. Atmospheric levels are diminishing rapidly. The quantum rift is collapsing around them. The aliens cannot lose the ship and what's left of their crew. Black says he can help them, so he needs to help now. Manchester smirks and points his finger at the nearest Krug warrior. He then flicks his finger back as if he were firing a weapon, and the Krug is shot. Blood flies from its mouth as it squirms and dies on the floor. Cheers, mate. You all got yourselves a shepherd. Right now, you're like newborn lambs, all soft and wobbly like, stepping into the cold, dark world. But I'll teach you how to grow fangs. I'll teach you to protect what's yours. I'll teach you how to kill the wolves and be elite among men. In the present, Mr. Cobbs arrives on the outskirts of town where there is now a pile of monstrous creatures, all dead, each one killed more brutal than the last. Death is everywhere, he says disapprovingly. The other aliens tell Cobbs that is his fear talking. They only did what Black taught them, and they do it again. But Cobbs and Kathy have both served faithfully as advisors. The aliens cannot have them reverting to weakened mindsets. Mayor Goodman tells Mr. Cobbs to remember everyone has their orders. Manchester Black will deal with security. They must be mindful of theirs. The boy. Mr. Cobbs snaps back. Don't lecture me on security, Goodman. First Krug, then Frankenstein, his bride, Batman, Robin, and now these rift squids invade our peaceful town. How are any of us any safer? I demand to talk to Black right now. Out of the question, the mayor tells him. Perhaps a conversation should be had, but not with you. Elsewhere, Clark, as Superman, delivers Lois to a nearby hospital before returning to his street clothes to wait by her side until she wakes up. Outside the room, doctors and nurses are scrambling. There have been reports of multiple structure collapses due to seismic tremors. Tremors? Clark wonders aloud. Here in Hamilton? How can they not see the truth? They're just seeing what someone else wanted them to. Like us. Lois, you're awake. The doctor said, I tried to get a signal to the JLA, Clark. The super elite. They know everything. The two have a short conversation. All Lois really wants to know right now is that John is safe. Unfortunately, Clark hasn't left her side, so he doesn't have any leads. He honestly doesn't even know if he can trust his own judgment at this point. Don't do this to yourself, Clark. I trust you. I have trust in our family, in the life we have together. Most of all, I trust that you'll always do the right thing, even if it kills you, because that's the man I married. Now, get up, Clark Kent. We need Superman. Superman's hunt brings him to Mr. Cobbs's farmhouse. He rips the structure up from the ground, and it reveals a number of hidden tunnels like mechanized roots growing from under Cobbs's farm. He reasons there must be an entire network under Hamilton leading back to the central complex in Dead Man's Swamp. The only way to know for sure is to follow them down. But suddenly, his son arrives. "Dad?" he whispers sheepishly. Clark jumps at the sound of his son's voice. "John?" he asks, placing the house back down on the ground. John flinches at his father's touch. "It's okay, son. I've got you now." Tears begin flowing from John's eyes. "What happened to Mom? He made me watch. Why didn't you do something?" Again, Clark is caught off guard. "Slow down, son. Who made you watch?" That's when he makes himself known. Manchester Black appears, and with a smug look, asks, "Hello, mate. Can you believe the filth they allow on the telly these days?" "Manchester Black!" Superman roars. Within less than a second, his eyes are glowing red. He shoots his heat vision with enough power to burn the man alive. But Manchester uses his telekinetic abilities to force the beam to stop and hover less than a foot away from where he stands. He then holds up a cigarette to the twin beams, inhales, and the paper begins to burn. He exhales a small cloud of smoke before admitting, "Yeah, mate. Me." Before Superman can attack, Manchester Black forces him back with a telekinetic push that sends Superman flying in the opposite direction, through the house and up the hill near the still burning oak tree. It doesn't take long for Manchester and Superboy to catch up. "We always knew I'd find my way back, carrying a torch for you and all that." Superboy comments, "My tree, it's still burning." "Call it a telepath's visual aid," Manchester says, before turning his attention back to Superman. "Gave me head a wobble around space-time for a while. Found me way back to settle the score. But lo and behold, there was a child." He bombards Superman with another psychic blast. "I says to myself, Chester, old man, the dad's a dud. We all know that. But this kid, he's got a chance to be great." Superboy tries to tell Manchester to stop hurting his father. Manchester just holds up a hand to silence him. "Shush, lad. The adults are talking. Now, where were we?" Superman glares back at him, attempting to use his anger to overpower the psychic assault. His nose begins to bleed, and from behind gritted teeth, he orders, "Sick 'em." At that moment, Krypto arrives and bites down on Manchester's arm. With him now distracted, Superman jumps to his feet. "John, get away!" he pleads before jumping on Manchester, pinning him to the ground, and blitzes him with a flurry of punches. "I could kill you!" Suddenly, the viscous blackened ooze begins to seep through the ground. Superman backs up, stepping in front of Jonathan, and Krypto hovers in the air to avoid the tar. Manchester Black stands to his feet. "You always were good for a laugh, Clark. If you were really capable of that, why aren't we having a toast over the corpse of Darkseid, or any of the other bad guys that like to spoil the innocent? See, John, A real hero with your dad's powers would put an end to this hurt and suffering, spare the innocent their pain. But not your glorious Pop. For all his preaching and jazzy new kicks, we both know he's full of fluff. Mark my words, days coming where there will be no place left for his brand of wave and smile. Gentle green cleaners sold to good-intentioned housewives won't cut it. We need steel wool and bleach. But you stole my powers. Nah, just juggled some synapses, neurons and such, lad. All you need is the right tweaks, and Uncle Chester can give them back, and so much more. No more mucking about on your dad's schedule. No more accidents. You'll be elite. Manchester rips the skeleton of John's old dog, Goldie, out of the ground as a feat of strength. Then, he uses the blackened sludge to capture Superman. The sludge grows and spreads into the air. It creates a massive tree of dark tendrils, and out of it sits the pods of all of Superman's missing allies. Another showcase of strength. Superman tries to warn Manchester, but the villain disregards it. Get over yourself, mate. You're just like the rest. Troublemakers. You see, I was planning the long con, blinding the town, grooming John bit by bit, power by power, to grow him into a better hero than his dad. Until all these meddling know-it-alls forced me hand. I've seen the future, and it's going to need him, not you. Manchester then calls upon their spaceship. Currently, the quantum field around it is quite unstable. It is only thanks to his power that it doesn't implode in on itself and cause a singularity. You're mad, Superman tells him. Why not just kill us? Nah, then John would have himself a martyr. Read enough comic books to know how that works out. This Superman doesn't work in this day and age. The kids outgrew you. You're a much better example as a living embarrassment. So, we'll just do the old Men in Black Jedi mind trick and you won't remember a thing. The elite and I will watch over John until he's of age. Matter of fact, how about a new power, John? We'll have your first lesson, he says as he removes a Krug from one of the stasis pods. Ever executed a war criminal before? Manchester chokes the hopeless man and holds him up for Superboy to kill. I die first, he tells him. Superman will... Manchester's eyes turn black as the tar around him. Don't talk to me about him again, boy. It's a mistake. At that moment, Mr. Cobbs and Kathy arrive. They both attempt to use their own psychic abilities to take down Manchester. Mr. Cobbs saying, I knew you were a monster. Leave our children alone. Manchester looks back and spits. You bloody old Judas. As he uses his powers to kill Mr. Cobbs. Grandpa! Kathy calls out as she rushes to his side. I can fix this. I can... But it's too late. As the life fades from him, Mr. Cobbs returns to his true alien form. The last thing he does is apologize to his granddaughter. It seems he's failed her again. In an instant, Kathy shrieks out as her powers go wild. She is successfully able to hold off Manchester for the time being. Superman uses this distraction to free himself from his bindings and flies over to the stasis pods. He then uses his heat vision to shatter the glass, freeing Frankenstein, his wife, Batman, and Robin. "No!" Manchester cries. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done from the beginning." Batman looks around the area as he gets his bearings. "Bad guy in black?" he asks Superman. "As always." "Fine," Manchester points. "You've got your Superman friends. I've got my Superboy elite. Let's have a go." The rest of the alien townspeople arrive by Manchester's side, and Manchester uses his abilities to gather enough of the sludge to coat each of them and Superboy. "Welcome to the party, gents. Let's make sure we're all dressed appropriately, eh?" When no one responds, Manchester says, "Testing, 1, 2, into his lighter. "Get out of my head," Superboy orders him. "Superman, help!" "I said, don't say his bloody name," Manchester yells. He hits Superboy with a full-force psychic attack. The tears from Superboy's eyes turn to the black tar as he becomes fully possessed. Superman calls out for his son. "No one move," Manchester orders. "Don't listen to him, John Boy. Listen to me. There's only black." "No, I'm not," Superboy whispers. "Yes, you are. And so much more." Manchester turns to Superman and asks, "Didn't Batman have a theory about the son being greater than the father? Well, let's put that hypothesis to the test." Manchester Black is in control. He uses the blackened sludge to take over the alien townspeople and Jonathan Kent. Superboy's eyes bleed black and his clothes are painted as dark as oil. And he is the first to attack. Superman doesn't raise a hand to his son. His allies, Batman, Robin, Frankenstein, and his bride, don't share the same sentimentalities. They leap in to attack. Superboy uses his anger to fuel his heat vision, trying to burn his father to the ground. Robin lunges forward and pulls out a couple of capsules from his utility belt before tossing them at Superboy. "Can't breathe, can't fight," he says as the capsules burst into clouds of dust. Kathy sees this and uses her telekinetic power to grab Robin out of the air and draws him towards her. Robin answers this by using the momentum of her pull to power his elbow strike and hits Kathy across the jaw. "Don't touch her!" Superboy bellows, jumping in to protect Kathy by smashing down on the ground. The ground cracks beneath his fists, and the force sends both Robin and Kathy flying into the air. Batman uses a batarang to keep Superboy off balance. "Why's he getting stronger?" Damian asks Kathy. "I tried to warn you. Black is pushing John's power to the limit. My grandfather and I were trying to help." Batman makes the call. "The window to stop John is closing. We need to de-escalate this. Superboy hears this and attempts to attack Batman. Batman diverts the punch and tries to reason with him. I know you're in a dark place, John, but you need to try to find your way out. Innocent lives are at stake. Superman flies in and grabs Superboy by the cape. Listen to Batman, son. We won't fight you. Your mother and I. Superboy turns around and hits his father with a flurry of punches. You failed her! You hurt her! She's okay, John. Just listen. Liar! Meanwhile, Frankenstein, wielding a sword, and his four-armed bride, wielding 4 pistols made of advanced technology, battle it out with the super elite. They are successfully able to take down a few of their opponents. Manchester Black sees this and orders Superboy to hurry and land the killing blow. Finish him off, my lad. He's weak, dangerous. With me, you are strong. Frankenstein's bride turns her pistols at Manchester and tries to riddle him with bullets. Frankenstein runs behind him and attempts to land the killing blow with a powerful swing of his sword. He cocks his arm back and prepares for the downswing. Superboy looks over to protect Manchester and dismembers Frankenstein's arm with his heat vision. Frankenstein's bride then turns her pistols towards Superboy, calling him a monster. Superboy easily freezes her in place with a simple sweep of his ice breath. Manchester sneers. Don't be so hard on the lad. He's new. Can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, you know? Frankenstein watches as his wife freezes and draws his own pistol at Superboy. There is a second of hesitation. Manchester takes advantage of this and pulls the wire keeping Frankenstein sewn together. His separate body parts collapse on top of one another, leaving him helpless on the ground. Clark, Batman begins. Superman tells him, I know your worst fears come true. Now with Black, Superboy could be unstoppable. I saw his body language change when you talked to him. His heart is trapped, but he's listening. The bond between parent and child is our only hope right now. Robin and I will take care of the Frankensteins and the rest of the elite. And all draw John away from Black. Manchester Black watches as Superman soars into the air along the Tree of Black. It's massive and sprawls into the sky, almost reaching the storm clouds above. He smiles and tells John, bring me back his cape. Gotta use the logo soon. Now, Superboy Black. Fly. Superboy races after his father. Clark has dreamed about this day. The day he'd watch John take to the skies for the first time. But not like this. John uses his ice breath to block Superman's path. Once he turns around, Superboy burns him down with his heat vision. The attack pushes Superman back into the Tree of Black. Superboy doesn't stop. He continues to burn his father, raising the temperature with the rage as his fuel, until the trunk of the tree ignites in flames. The flames weaken the Tree of Black enough for it to begin to break apart, causing it to plummet down right on top of the town. The tree's vine-like tendrils grab onto Superman and force him to watch. The people! Please, I can still save them! He calls out. No, Superboy tells him, "You can't. I am strong. It's my job now." Superboy races down to stop the giant ball of flame before it can reach the ground. At first, he doubts himself, but he taps into the anger in his heart and uses the spite he has for his father to break to the next level. I am strong! Suddenly, John hears a voice in his head, cheering him on. "That you are, my lad." "Shut up, Black! I don't need you in my head anymore!" Superman flies in with his fists extended. "You are strong, son. I can see that now. And that means you're strong enough to take this. I'm sorry." Superman crashes into Superboy, and the force of the blow shatters the ground beneath their feet. Rubble, the size of boulders, flies into the air. Kathy races to her grandfather's side, and Robin clings on a nearby piece of earth. They both watch as the alien spaceship becomes visible. Sparks of energy cracks through the air. "Oh no! The quantum reactor!" Kathy gasps. "The what?" Robin snaps. "Our ship's drive is unstable. It's throwing out arcs of space-time. It could collapse if there's much more disruption." The space-time energy strikes Superman, and the pain forces him to release his son. Both their eyes glow bright as their minds are flooded with visions of the future. Superboy stutters. "I can see worlds beyond days, nights beyond worlds, truth, lies, justice, injustice, hope, despair, so much burning light. There's no room for Black." Superboy regains his composure and glides back down to Manchester Black, warning him, "The darkness screams for your blood, Black." Black calls his super elite back to their feet. "Mind your tongue, kid. You ain't beyond me. I am." Before he can finish his next statement, Superboy is already attacking. Again and again, Superboy lands punch after punch hard enough to shatter a normal man's skull. "Get out of my head! Out! Out!" Superman tries to calm his son down. He tries to plead him to stop, but his voice goes unheard. John doesn't stop until he hears another familiar voice, yelling, "Jonathan Samuel Kent!" "You don't have to listen to him anymore. Just listen to me." The blackness in John's eyes begins to seep away as he turns around and sees his mother standing right behind him. "Mom? Your leg!" "We only saw what he wanted us to see." She motions him over. "I'm fine, John. Everything is going to be all right." Manchester Black's eyes glow in anger. "You little Superboy is mine!" At once, Kathy jumps in the middle of Manchester and Superboy. Superman tries to fly in the middle of them to intercept the attack, and Superboy puts both arms out in front of his mother. Manchester creates a gun with his hand and points it directly at Lois. "John, your hand!" Kathy orders him with her arm extended. The two children grab each other's hands, and Kathy uses her powers, as well as Superboy's mental connection with Manchester Black, to attack him on two fronts. The overflow of energy cracks Manchester's skin, and he doubles back in pain, misfiring and hitting Superman instead of Lois. The telekinetic energy explodes out of Manchester and erupts through the tree of black, mixing with the time-space distortion, resulting in an even larger discharge of energy. Eventually, the storm subsides. Superboy runs back to tell his father, "Dad, I think my powers are gone again." "You okay?" "Yes, sir. I'll be fine. You?" "I am now, son." Batman examines Manchester Black, who, at the moment, is laying on the ground in a comatose state. The lights are on, but no one's home. Damian retrieves the head of Frankenstein. His wife will thaw out from Superboy's ice eventually, but putting Frankenstein back together will be enough to entertain Robin for the time being. He's been looking for a new science project. The mayor and the rest of the alien townspeople fly down to meet the heroes, and the mayor is the first to apologize to Kathy. "Kathy, I'm so sorry. Your grandfather didn't fail. I did. How can you ever forgive us?" "You're my family," she says softly. The townspeople prepare to teleport away, but Superman stops them. "This isn't over," he says. "Superman," the mayor begins. "Hamilton is all we have left. Our ship can no longer be moved without unleashing absolute destruction." Kathy offers to take on Manchester's old responsibility. However, she is going to need a crew. "We'll be there for you, Kat," he says. Superman asks the mayor, "You hid among us, spied on us. Why should I let you stay?" "Because we're not that different. Because it's the right thing to do." The mayor is once again coded in his disguise. "We don't deserve it, but Hamilton is our home, and it needs us." The town isn't the only thing that needs to be rebuilt. Superman crosses his arms. There's the matter of trust. I'm sure you'll forgive me for feeling dangerously low on it these days. But I suppose we have to start somewhere, don't we? The mayor steps forward and shakes Superman's hand. "We won't let you down, Superman." I believe you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a lot of work to do. Superman prepares to leave to rebuild the town. But this time, it is the mayor who stops him. "Superman, if you'll let us, we should be the ones who make Hamilton whole again." "I think that's a fine idea," he says. "After all, it is your home." 3 weeks later, everything is back to normal. Many of the townspeople and leaders of the community help the town coordinate restoration efforts. Everyone, from Dr. Eustace Brown's free clinic to food shelf donations from the local dairy farms, and distribution by the local HCPD. Truly, an amazing experience for them all. Even Mr. Martinez and the at-risk youth organization have pitched in to restore the fairgrounds so they could all enjoy the opening tonight. Hamilton is a great place to live again. Eventually, Clark, Lois, John, and Kathy return to the old oak tree on the hill. Black's telepathy made it look like their old tree was burning for so long. Now it's just ugly, Superboy tells the rest of them. Lois takes this time to apologize for Kathy's grandfather. Honestly, she doesn't like the idea of Kathy being alone now. I appreciate your concern, ma'am, but the ship, the farm, they need me. And even though Grandpa is gone, I won't be alone. Kathy places her palm on the trunk of the tree, and in an instant, it returns to its former glory. Whoa! John gasps. Your grandpa would be proud, Lois comments. Stay for dinner, Kathy? Clark asks. Thank you. Sounds great, Kathy says unenthusiastically. John chuckles and attempts to crawl up the tree. Can we play until then? Not sure if I feel like it. Just a climb! All right. The two reach the highest of the branches, sturdy enough to carry their weight without breaking. It's so much bigger up here, John says as he reaches a hand out to help Kathy up. John, after we shared our powers, when I took your hand, did you feel a connection? Yeah, it reminded me of the first time we were up here, remember? Yeah, you freaked out when I touched your hand, crushed the branch. After those time flashes, after Black, I can't explain it. I don't feel afraid anymore. I know I can be brave, no matter what it costs, for the people I care about. I'm so sorry for everything, John. I gave in to my fear with Black, and it cost your powers. Dad's test says they're not gone. They'll come back when I'm ready. How are you not hating me right now? Us new kids have to look out for each other, right? Thanks, John. Wait. Kathy looks down at the branch to see both her and John hovering in midair. She looks at John in confusion, and he smirks back. And then, they're gone. What was that? Lois asks as she looks towards the sky. Clark smiles. Sounded like a huge bird or maybe a plane. Then, Lois sees the two kids flying off into the clouds. Don't look now, but I think we've got our Superboy back. Wow, look at them go, Clark mumbles with a glint in his eye. He's going to be sad to leave these wide open spaces. Hamilton will always be John's town, like Smallville is mine. Do you think they'll be alright up there? Maybe I should... Relax, Smallville. He comes from a good stock. Instead of the sky, Clark focuses his attention on Lois. Have I told you how much I love you, Miss Lane? Tell me again.